An alert for new home buyers. It's one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make. And if you expect that it's going to be built the right way, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not always the case. Tonight, a local woman says the townhome in Ayrsley was built with serious and potentially life-threatening defects.
So what did she do? She gets McGinty to expose it.
Yeah, hey there, Fred and Sarah. You know, building a new home should really be a happy experience, but this local woman says it is costing her a small fortune. And it all, she says, has to do with the drywall, the thickness of it, 5/8 versus a 1/2 inch. The thicker drywall is called a firewall, and her issue is it's in some places, but not others.
From the outside, it looks pretty spectacular, but ask Heather Raines, the owner, about the inside. Well, you'll hear a different story.
I now have a huge roof leak in my master bedroom. Mold is growing on the walls.
Heather is happy to point out her frustrations with the builder, D.R. Horton, and the job they did building her home. She says she chose D.R. Horton because they pledge and advertise the delivery of a safe home with the best quality construction, made with the highest quality materials. No exceptions.
The big thing is the lack of a firewall. There is not a firewall built between my home and the next neighboring attached.
But you would have never known that if it hadn't been for water damage.
Exactly.
But how could that happen? A firewall between units is a major safety concern should a fire break out in either unit. I asked D.R. Horton about it, and they wrote me back saying D.R. Horton has always been committed to resolving Miss Raines' issues. But they didn't address my specific questions about that firewall. Heather says they eventually settled in arbitration for what she called a fraction of the debt she owes from this mess.
This whole wall should be a firewall.
This whole wall should be a firewall. On the other side of this is my neighboring garage.
As for the firewall issue, I wondered, how could that pass inspection? So I asked Mecklenburg County for all the inspection reports for that address and was told they only hold inspection records for 7 years in accordance with North Carolina law. That means there are no inspection records, despite the unit being built in 2008.
They didn't build a firewall. How did that pass inspection?
I don't know. We don't know.
So if you're not familiar with construction terminology, basically a firewall is drywall that is just thicker. There's 1/2 inch and there's 5/8. And in Mecklenburg County, it's 5/8. That's what a firewall means. And it basically means the thicker the drywall, the longer it would take for a fire to burn from this side over to this side. And if you have it on both sides, that would be considered a double firewall. But in Heather Raines' case, in that townhome, some of this drywall, the 5/8, was in some places behind the wall, but it wasn't everywhere between the two units. And that apparently is code. When you have an adjoining wall and adjoining residence, it's got to be thick and it's got to go all the way down and it's got to go all the way up. And she says that is a very serious safety defect that they only discovered when they were tearing walls apart because of mold. Sarah and Fred?
Very interesting. Great story, Bill. Thank you.